Okay, so let's do the video for section 2 of the listening test. Okay, so here we have the question sheet for section 2. In section 2, we often have different kinds of questions. Today we're starting off with note completion, and then in the next part we will have, let's see here. Next part of section 2 is labeling a map. A very common question type in section 2 of the test, because of course in section 2 we have a guide talking. So let's go back to the first part, the first question type. So again, please have a look at the instructions. So today we're only writing one word for each answer. So let's have a look at the title. We have this Fiddy Working Heritage form. Now, could be that you don't know what the word heritage means. When you open your question booklet and you see this in the title, not really important. You don't need to know the meaning of every word to be able to answer the questions. So in section 2, we know there's a guide who's going to talk about a place, and today he's giving advice on something. We also know that the answers in the IELTS test, in the IELTS listening test, are usually nouns. So we can expect nouns to appear in all of these answers. Now, let's think about some synonyms for our keyword harm here in question 11. I have the script here. It's kind of like cheating. If we have a look at the phrase here from the script, let's try drawing a line. If we take this line from the script, where the guide says, please don't frighten or injure the animals, well, we can see that harm, of course, is a synonym for injure. So our keyword does appear in the script, but it's not exactly the same word. It's a synonym of that one. It's a synonym for the word harm. Number 12. Not to touch any. This is pretty straightforward. Here is our keyword touch from the question. The only problem here really is them, which refers back to some other object already mentioned, some other objects already mentioned. So the them here, of course, refers to the tools mentioned here. Then question 13, where, pretty simple. If we look at the script, our answer appears right next to the word wearing. Let's move to the last question here. Not to bring something something into the form with certain exceptions. Okay. Now we can look at the word exception. Well, we don't really need to focus on this part of the question to be able to answer it. Just this not to bring, just by focusing on this, we'll be able to find the answer. If we look at this here, I'm afraid they have to stay in the car park. They have to stay in the car park. And they could cause a lot of problems on the farm. So, not a lot of difficult language, but the answer is not as direct as the answers in the first 3 questions were. So again, the referencing here, they and they, what does that refer to? Of course, refers to the dogs here. Okay. Now, the next part of the test, the next part of the section rather, if we look at this part here, label the map below. Write the correct letters from A to L next to the questions 15 to 20. Okay, so of course, as always, read the instructions. Let's try that again. Read the instructions. Although with labeling, it's not too hard. It's usually the same. The instructions are usually the same. The next thing you need to do is to determine where you are on the map. Now today it's quite easy to see because on the map there's an X saying you are here. When you look at your question booklet and they don't indicate where you are on the map, you're just going to have to wait until the recording starts, and the recording will tell you where, from what perspective you are looking at the map. What is your vantage point, where you are. Okay, so first of all, where are you? Secondly, these things that we see listed here, these places, you will hear them discussed in order. So we will hear someone talking about the scarecrow before we hear them talk about the maze, the cafe, the blackboard, and so on. So these you will all hear in order. These names will not be paraphrased in any way. You will hear them exactly as you see them here. So we can quickly look at these, think about how they're pronounced, but then we'd better move on and look at the features of the map. So these boxes here that are labeled A, B, C, and so on, we don't need to spend too much time on these because it's impossible to predict what they are since most of them look exactly the same. Instead, look at the features that are a little bit different and which have labels like car park, new barn, main path, side path, all these things that have labels on them. And here, fish pool. And then also, look at what's going on here over the fish pool. What is that? Well, of course, it's a bridge because the path crosses the bridge. But these are things that you need to do before the recording starts. What are the features of the footpath? And maybe just say these words to yourself, like car park. Just mouth the words so you can get used to the sounds. Because in the recording, you're probably going to hear these. And then, of course, in the listening, when we get to the map section, they usually give you 2 clues as to what the answer is. For example, if you look at the script where they talk about the scarecrow, let's see here. Okay, so here is mention of the scarecrow. So when I say they give you 2 clues, what I mean is, like here they say in the corner, beside the main path, multiple clues. They're not going to give you just 1 clue as to the location of these items. So in the corner beside the main path. So if we look at the map, main path is here, and in the corner, so there are your clues to find the answer. Okay, so just one more point about the clues that they give you when they tell you the answers. If you look at question number 19 here, about the covered picnic area, let's try that in online. The covered picnic area, if we look at the script, where's the script? Here. They mention the covered picnic area. And then we see there are 2 clues. Clue number 1, they say it's just after you cross the bridge. Now, from looking at the map beforehand, we would know that the bridge is here. So just after you cross the bridge, that would put us right here. And then the second clue, second clue, there's a covered picnic spot on the right. So they give us the location after the bridge on the right. If we look at our map, past the bridge on the right, so giving us the answer C. Okay, so in the next video, I'll be looking at section 3 of the listening test.